Save It for the Blind is sponsored by Kershaw Knives. Kershaw manufactures next-level pocket knives for outdoor enthusiasts. Save It for the Blind is now also being sponsored by Roseville Motorsports. Roseville Motorsports is the greater Sacramento area's premier destination for all your power sports vehicle needs. Stop in today to browse off-road vehicles from leading manufacturers like Polaris, Yamaha, and more. If you guys are enjoying the show, we'd love to hear from you and get your support. Please follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Your reviews really help us grow and reach more people. Thank you for being a part of our community. Yeah, that's one of the things about California that, I like is we just have our upland validation, which is good for dove and quail, but it's also good for turkey. So we don't have tags. We have no reporting, which I still think is odd. But we can, odd, yeah, we can kill 3 birds in the spring, no reporting, and then basically the youth get, the weekend before the opener, they can go hunt. Then everybody hunts for 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And then we have a 2-week youth and archery season after that. So we don't have to declare any time or zone or this or that. We can basically hunt all throughout the state at any point during the open season. And then, like I said, no reporting. You can kill 3 bearded birds per spring. So
I would have a heyday with that. I have to go to every other state, you have to go to Wisconsin, South Dakota, Iowa, Missouri, if you want to kill more than one bird. So
yeah, and you guys have to report also
within 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
I think, or it might be 48 hours. You got to tag it, and just like we would on like a whitetail. You got to.
Will they shut the season down if like so many are shot in a zone?
No, there's no quota limit like that. It's just based over year data and harvest statistics that, and it's only, our bird populations are only getting better. And so like, I don't see us not going to like a two bird thing at some point, just because our populations are pretty strong right now. And we've had, for northern climates, we've had 2 really good back-to-back winters and really good spring nesting, so our poult success rate has been really strong.
That's interesting. Is there certain like time periods that you apply for that people are more desired over others, or is it just like why would you apply for certain ones over others?
I think I don't know. I mean, you guys sound like you guys have turkey hunted, and
yeah,
obviously in California your season's a little bit different, so our birds might start doing the breeding process a little bit later than you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of guys like to do that A season first because the birds are fresh. They haven't been pressured yet. Everybody's excited to go. And when we used to have to apply like ahead of time for your dates, like it seemed more specific, but now it seems more people will kind of ebb and flow with what week they want based on like if they got birds on their properties or kind of the timing of thing and what the weather looks like. Like our A season was pretty favorable weather and the birds were starting to get out pretty active and you hear a lot of gobbling and stuff. So I feel like this year there was quite a few A and B season hunters. And then normally like C and D kind of taper off a bit in terms of who's getting tags. But personally, I prefer like if I get a bird hammer mid to end of May, it's like game over. That's my favorite time to go hunt them because you know what they're going to play and they're probably not henned up.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting because it's kind of a strategy based. I mean, if I was doing it, I'd be like, want to hunt when there's less people in the woods. So
right.
Yeah, my thing would be like, well, you might think, okay, whatever season B, and then you got something come up, you're like, I just missed the entire season where I couldn't hunt.
Yeah, the tag, and then and then it opens back up. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Right. That's different than most states. Like I go to South Dakota next week with one of my buddies that we always do, and like that's like when you get those tags, it's just like you get the whole season. Like you guys, you just get the whole season and you go.
And you're shooting Merriams in South Dakota. What in Minnesota are you shooting Easterns?
Yeah, we shoot Eastern. So actually, like. There's like the Black Hills is known for like the Merriams in South Dakota. Like where I hunt, it's called the Prairie Tag. So it's more like south central along the Missouri River. And like we shoot a lot of hybrids, like Merriam Rio hybrid.
Yeah.
And like, we try to cherry pick the whitest birds we can see. But like most guys, and I'm not like a full purist, but like if it's got a beard and it's gobbling and doing the deal, I don't care what color it is. Like I just want to, get after them.
No, definitely. That's kind of the same way it is in California because our turkeys disappeared so much. They brought Easterns and Rios and Merriam. So we have a bunch of mutts. One of the guys that works for us used to be the NWTF biologist for the West Coast, and he's like, there's basically one pure Merriam strain up in the very northeast corner of the state, and other than that, everything's a mix. Like, and you have the variations. You shoot one. I shot one on the river this year that was super white where there shouldn't be any Merriams, and the same day my brother-in-law killed one, and it was like brown. It's just different colorations of birds, but we don't have pretty much any pures out here. So if we want to go kill an Eastern, or most people say we have Rios, but not pures, and we have to go elsewhere.
Yep. Makes sense.
So, well, I just wanted to welcome everybody back to another episode of Save for the Blind. Today's guest is Josh Vickers, who is the Shotshell Product Line Manager at Federal Ammunition. So, Josh, thank you for coming on the podcast today, and we're going to dive into Federal and some new offerings that you guys have, as well as some of the high-tech stuff that's coming out. So one of the things I was thinking about was, how does somebody end up a Shotshell Product Line Manager? Like, going to college, what did you do for college, and how'd you end up there?
Yeah, so I have a very unique kind of path to where I'm at now. Been very fortunate with, my navigating of my career so far. But yeah, so actually I went to school for biology and chemistry. I was thinking I was going to be doing, wildlife management work, whether it was restoring wetlands or, big game biology or something to that effect. I've always been a passionate hunter and outdoorsman. And that was kind of my original avenue until I got to school and I realized that those careers are pretty cutthroat in terms of availability. And there's lots of seasonal jobs and that really didn't jive well with what I was thinking I was going to be doing. That I wanted to be a CO for a while, and obviously it makes sense. But guess when they work a lot? During hunting season. Yeah. I was like, well, that's also kind of defeating the purpose of my personal passion to be in the field a lot, hunting and fishing, and so what kind of ended up happening is I'm a fourth generation employee of Federal, actually.
Wow.
So. My great grandmother, my grandparents worked here, my dad works here, and now I'm here. Obviously they knew a lot of people at work. They knew I was going to school for biology. And when I was in college, they had, seasonal jobs for like college kids and stuff to come in, mowing the grass or helping package ammo, stuff like that. So I got in early, and then somebody found out I was doing chemistry. And so I got to meet some of our chemists here at work. And so the following summer, I got in as an intern in our primer department, primer systems technology engineering team. And that kind of really propelled me into where I'm at now. So from that point, they hired me on full time as a primer systems engineer after I graduated college. I was an engineer for the last 9 years. And then just this almost a year ago, a little longer than a year ago, I got into the product management team. I obviously big wing shooter, hunted all over. And I forgot to mention, as I progressed through my engineering job, I got to do more and more shot shell projects. So that really, kind of robusted my knowledge base for shot shells, and that helped me go in. And obviously my passions for hunting and shooting, and I like to do photography and marketing and, stay up to date on gear and who's doing what. And so that kind of all helped me propel me into this new position as the product line manager.
Well, that's super awesome. Cool. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. You may know this, you may not. How long has Federal been around? Fourth generation, obviously, been around for a while.
Yeah, so it'll be 103 years this spring. So 1922. So yeah, we just had our 100th. Yeah, we just had our 100th anniversary a few years back in 2022. So yeah, we've been around for a while.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah. Do you guys have other facilities throughout the U.S.?
So just Federal Ammunition is produced in Anoka, Minnesota, but our sister companies, which include Heavy Shot, which is in Sweet Home, Oregon, Remington Ammunition, they're in Lone Oak, Arkansas, CCI Spear, and they're in Idaho. And then just recently we got purchased by the Czechoslovakia group, and they own Fiocchi Ammunition. So now we're all kind of conglomerated under the same umbrella.
Interesting. Are you guys going to be hit by any of the tariffs? Obviously, you're mostly in America, but I'm sure raw products.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think everybody in our industry is getting hit with some level of degree with the tariff issue. So yeah, we're facing it. We're navigating it. We've done pretty well in terms of setting ourselves up for success. And so yeah, it's part of the game. We're all facing it and kind of see how everything shakes out in the end here.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting season to see if ammo prices go up and clothing prices go up and everything's going to go up before, I don't know, what we got, 5 months. Decoys. Yeah, most of the decoys are made in China.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be an interesting year, that's for sure. But we want to kind of dive into Federal and your products. So one of the mainstays that I know I've seen on the shelves is ULTRASTEEL. So why does that one stand out in your guys' waterfowl lineup?
Yeah, so ULTRASTEEL, it's a new product for us in the last 2 years. What really makes it stand out and what it separates itself from BlackCloud, which is like our long-standing legacy waterfowl ammunition, like everybody knows about it. Other than Blue Box, which everybody
Blue Box. Yep.
That's my shot. That's my box.
Yeah, so Blue Box is like I'll kind of go through it a little bit, to start everything. Blue Boxes are like opening price point type product. It's a little bit cheaper, but it doesn't have like all the technologies that BlackCloud and ULTRASTEEL have. And then obviously BlackCloud, which has been the mainstay premium product for us in the waterfowl space, since 2017. We're coming up on 20 years of BlackCloud, which is pretty cool. That one features our Flight Control Flex Wad, which does a lot of the, pattern improvements. It helps with, the way it works is that it pulls off the shot string versus just opening up like a traditional front facing wad, which is like our Speed Shok. So it kind of does some of the choke work for you to give you some of those tighter patterns and some a little bit more downrange energy. And then ULTRASTEEL, like I said, is newer. It fits right in the middle. It's all spherical shot where BlackCloud has the Saturn shot. We call it the Fight Stopper pellet. Which is supposed to help with cutting through down and cutting through the meat and get you better penetration. But it gives you better edge to edge patterns because obviously like the ballistic coefficient of a Saturn shaped shot isn't as good as a perfectly spherical shot. While it still offers a good like 30-inch circle pattern, kind of the standard patterning board dimensions, edge to edge, ULTRASTEEL with all spherical shot, but with the flight control wad gives you a hotter core, like similar overall patterns, and you can expect anywhere from like 80 to 90% almost at 40 yards with these SKUs, kind of depending on the shot size. And slow me down if I'm talking too fast. I get excited talking about stuff. But it's all spherical shot, so it gives you a hotter core. That 15-inch circle is, anywhere from 7 to 10% better or higher in that 15-inch circle, like in the middle of your pattern. So it adds a performance there. Then also one of the features of ULTRASTEEL is that we offer it in stacked loads, so BBs and 2s and 4s, 3s and 5s. And obviously, if you guys have probably seen kind of the popularity arise in the last 4 or 5 years. Remington did it in like the late 80s, early 90s. I can't remember. Really? It's been a while. Yeah, and it kind of just went away, and then now it's kind of coming back in popularity. But there are some benefits to having the stacked loads. It offers kind of a really good dual purposeness, right? So if you're hunting a cornfield and you got geese coming in and ducks, so it might be a dual species hunt. Like pretty much, I've just been running BBs and 2s if I know it's going to be a combo hunt because I know it's going to kill the geese and it's going to kill the ducks, and you're not sacrificing one way or the other, really.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah.
I shot the 2s and 4s this year, and I really liked them. I usually shoot number 2s, blue box, but I was impressed. I really enjoyed them actually. But I did have a question on the BlackClouds. Is it the ULTRASTEEL and the Saturn shots in the load, or is it a different BB in the BlackClouds? Like, is it the same BB as a...
BlackCloud is a 60-40 blend of all spherical, like premium zinc-plated shot, and then 40% of the Flight Stopper pellet. And then in ULTRASTEEL, it's all of the premium zinc-plated steel.
Gotcha.
Was the BlackCloud, wasn't there? I may be thinking of a totally different load, but there was a load that came out a long time ago that had like the square shot. Was that?
No, that's
that was they still have it, but
do they?
I have not heard.
I just remember
positive.
seeing that you'd see like a BB and be like a square.
Yeah, it was like to stack them all in there and they'd get so many. But man, I know some people that shot that and they were like, that was the worst pattern.
Well, it doesn't make sense, flying down range, you're flying square instead of a circle.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, we've talked about this on a couple of different podcasts, but the world of shot shells in the last 3 years has changed so dramatically with stacked loads coming back, TSS prices nowadays. What's your thought? Like, where do you think it's going? Just as professional opinion, because I feel like people. I don't say people are getting away from the cheaper, like more accessible loads, but it just seems like people are producing more of the high end, not one offs, but like TSS or bismuth kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a crystal ball, it'd make my job be real easy. But no, I think certain things have come and gone. We've seen it throughout, kind of the longevity of shot shell, with the stacked loads being done a long time ago, bismuth, the dense metals, and always, people get out of it. They go back to steel because at some point, people do get price conscious and we see, I mean, my ultimate opinion is I think steel is here to stay just because of the price point aspect of it. And, with modern propellants and primers and the wad configurations that we have, like you said, blue box is your product, right? And that's as simple as you can get, but we've got really efficient powders. We've got, good moderate velocities that produce, good patterns, but enough energy to knock birds down, right? But there's certainly advantages to going to like the dense metals, right? And, there's no doubt about it. TSS, heavy 12, the 12 density tungsten, bismuth, like there's certainly advantages to it. And if you're a good shot, or a bad shot for that matter, I guess, is, maybe less cripples on the water. So you potentially can save more money in the long run, but, when you take some of those longer 30, 40, 50 yard shots and they're not right in your face, right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of, to me, that's really where the denser metals shine. Because if you're decoying birds at 15 to 20 yards, steel is going to do plenty good. And if you put a good shot on it, you're going to be plenty fine. But it's those taller shots, those longer shots. And then really sub gauges. To me, that's where the dense metals really shine. Is it brings those performance levels so far up that, a guy can carry a light 20 gauge, a 410, a 28, and bring them into the realm of the 12 gauge, but they're not, shooting these ounce and a half payloads and getting their shoulders, their teeth knocked out,
Yeah, it seems like those sub gauges are becoming so much more popular nowadays. So what's some of the ones that you guys are now offering that people may not know about?
Yeah. So new for this year, we're doing BlackCloud in 16 gauge. We're doing heavy Federal Premium heavy bismuth in 16 gauge and 28 gauge. And then this year for turkey season, we also had 28 gauge 3-inch and 2 3/4 inch heavyweight TSS for turkey hunting.
Oh, wow. What's the heavy load? Is that just all bismuth?
The heavy bismuth, yeah. So it's 100% bismuth load. Gotcha. Or 100% of the payload is bismuth shot.
Our hunt program is still accepting applications for spring pig hunts. Visit calwaterfowl.org to apply today. While you're there, don't miss our membership deal. Purchase a membership and receive a free Realtree sweatshirt while supplies last. You can also apply for hunts, purchase tickets for upcoming events, and show your support for waterfowl conservation. Upcoming events are Visalia CWA Recruitment Meeting and Social, May 20th, Jack Waliba Memorial Day at the Track, Santa Anita Park in Arcadia, May 31st. What's the difference between bismuth and TSS? Like, what's the main difference? Because I see them on the shelf and I see the price difference. In my mind, as just an average Joe hunter, it's like, okay, they're both more expensive than steel. They both sound like they're going to get the job done. And I know they're both heavy, but what's that like the actual difference?
Yeah. So the actual differences. So, TSS, tungsten super shot, is 18 density. So 8 grams per cc of the density weight. And then bismuth is 9.6 or something, right in that 9.6. It can fluctuate depending on your alloying content and stuff. But, so but steel is 7.8. So jumping from steel to bismuth, you get more density. And then obviously jumping to like a 12 density, like the heavy 12 product, and then TSS brings you up to another tier. And so the real advantage of going to denser metals is that you can drop your shot sizes down and still maintain the same amount of downrange energy, but increase your pellet counts. So for example, like if you look at like a 12 gauge, like there's a good example is turkey loads here, is if you're looking at like a 12 gauge, 3-inch, number 5 lead load. It's got, I think, something like 190 pellets somewhere in there. I should know this, but I can't remember off the top of my head. It's hard to keep all the numbers straight. If you go to a number 9 TSS 410 that we have at 16 ounce, I believe, that has 198 pellets at number 9, but you're getting the same energy. And instead of getting a great big wallop to the shoulder, it's just a...
So that 410 load is basically the same thing as shooting if you're shooting lead 12.
Yep, and then number 5. Yep,
which we can even do in California. All of our shot has to be non-toxic, even for turkeys. So it's not a bad idea when you think about it.
Yeah, what's the density of the lead? So you said just the regular steel is 7, and then we went up to 9. Bismuth at 9.
Yeah, and then you said there was a 12.
The TSS is 12.
No, the TSS is 18. There's the heavy 12, you said?
Yeah, heavy 12 from heavy shot. That's a 12 density tungsten.
So where's lead in all that?
Yep, it's 11.35.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So bismuth is getting closer to that mark, right? And so with bismuth, you can technically drop a shot size and have equal performance to steel. So you can go from a 3 to a 4, increase your pellet count. But then also one of the advantages of bismuth products are that it's it's malleable. The metal's more, soft and ductile like lead is. Mm-hmm. And so like guys that like to shoot their old LCs or legacy guns per se, they can still have a soft metal that they don't have to worry about scratching like the Damascus barrels and stuff like that.
That's interesting. It's funny because you hear all those old guys like, oh, well, back when I used to be able to shoot lead, it's like you've got rounds now that are heavier than lead. Like if you want to pay the extra money, the good times of shot shells are here. Like you need to stop complaining.
Yeah. Paying a heck of a a lot more than the old lead loads.
You're paying more, but the performance is there.
Yeah. And I mean, you're seeing it, right? So, I mean, you're seeing more guys shoot 410s.
28s are huge nowadays.
16s. And back in the day, like, I'm going to say back in the day, like my dad, he's like, a lot of people shot a 16 gauge,
Yeah.
It was very
There's
common.
Lots of 16 gauges under beds and behind doors,
Yeah.
Worlds, across the country.
And shooting 5s and 6s and 7s and doing just fine.
Go for it.
I was going to say, I couldn't imagine going from that to the really, really bad new steel loads like in the 80s. Yeah. And
what was the density of the original steel stuff?
I don't think they patterned really well. And a lot of them were like still 2 3/4 because that's what people were used to shooting. And
they're
just
slower.
Yeah.
Yeah. The downrange energy probably wasn't even close to what lead was, but it's just so interesting to me when you're dropping those numbers to think about how lead kind of sits almost on the bottom of that.
Yeah.
As far as, is there anything that's heavier than the TSS that just hasn't been put as an alloy that just hasn't been put into a shot shell yet? That's possible.
Gold.
Sweet. Talk about expensive.
No.
When you bringing that out, bringing that out next year.
What is the price of gold? I think we joked about it the other week in the office of selling, like making a couple one-offs and auctioning them off. But, I think what is gold the price? I can't remember, but I think it would have ended up being close to like $2,000 a round for like 1 ounce of shot or something.
Wow.
Like that.
That's crazy. You guys can get that for sure.
Somebody would. You make one, somebody would buy it for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No. Imagine.
But that's about the only thing.
Well, I mean, I'd have to look at the periodic table, but
Gotcha.
I think right now in terms of what's
feasible,
manufacturable, right? Yeah. TSS is the heaviest that people are playing with. There's denser metals than tungsten, but being able to make it is a whole other story.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. What's your advice for hunters that may be shooting like blue box and they want to switch to something maybe a little bit more, but are intimidated by A, the price, or B, not knowing how, like, say Jeff shoots the blue box and he knows where his gun shoots, it patterns well. And somebody wants to jump to call it bismuth and they're worried about patterning. Are they going to see a big change in their pattern, or is it because your guys' wads are similar that they'll see the same thing?
No, I think, anytime you're going from an opening, like the blue box type products and you're going to like a premium type product, we're always making sure that we're striving for some performance advantages and making improvements to make a better product, right? Otherwise, we don't want to sell a product that's not better. Now, guys listening might argue like, oh, Speed Shok's the best there is, right? And it's killed a lot of ducks, probably more ducks than any of our other products combined, right? But when it comes to patterning in the work that we do try to make sure that each product is better, has a benefit that surpasses, the product below it, right? And so I would say, what I always say jokingly when people ask me this, I say, at the end of the day, confidence kills, right? So if you're confident in your product, your gun, like for a long time, I was a WF 142.3, an ounce and a quarter at 1450 with number 3's blue box. That was my product, and I felt like I killed better than anything with that product. But obviously I've been able to shoot a lot of products since, and now I've kind of stayed leveled to ULTRASTEEL BB2s and the 3.5s for my go-to 12 gauge products. But I would just encourage anybody to try it, right? Because you will see a benefit in terms of pattern efficiencies, and it's a big rabbit hole to go down. And for whatever reason, Jeff's gun might just shoot Speed Shok better than anything, with his choke combo, more diameter. There's a bunch of things. It's a whole marriage relationship that goes into it. But, we try to vet that out on our side before we come to market with stuff, right? So like, on ULTRASTEEL, I was one of the engineers that got to help work on it. And, so we tested it through, 7 different guns, a bunch of different chokes. And we wanted to make sure that you did, by a gross average, a good average above, see improvements through all these different, choke systems, gun systems, and stuff like that. So long-winded way for me to say that, I would still encourage somebody to try, at least a box of ULTRASTEEL or heavy bismuth or, BlackCloud to see if it is better, because they might find that this is their secret sauce and they're missing more or they're hitting more and missing less.
Yeah.
Right. And so sometimes that little upcharge for a little bit better product saves you dollars in the long run.
Yeah, that's 100% true. We talked about it this year. We were able to test out some loads and it's like, okay, the price is more, but what if you're not spending 3 shells on cripples and you're hitting on 5 more shells? Like, you're spending 8 shells less a hunt. That's going to end up actually saving you in the long run. Yeah, the upfront cost is more, but your back end cost might be the same or less.
Yeah, exactly.
But you still need to be a good shot, though, to get it.
It's not the magic bullet, but it helps.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, when you're personally duck hunting, are you switching loads or boxes throughout the season where it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go back to the blue box? Or are you sticking to something that you are really comfortable with and you have confidence with, which is that ULTRASTEEL load?
Yeah, so I would say typically I'll stick with one, but it is part of my job to experiment and
which is awesome.
Some of the R&D stuff. So I'm very fortunate in that way. So I would say now the last, handful of years, I'm switching it up a lot more, and like I'll shoot different gauges and try different stuff. And, I work very closely with our product engineering team, so I might get special samples to go field test. And so, I do switch it up fairly often, but, I'm fortunate that I get to go a fair amount. Personally, I hunt a lot, so that really helps. So I do get a good breadth of the season where I'm shooting one product pretty consistently.
Is there anything, and you may be able to tell us, you may be able to not, that you were able to test or have tested for federal previously and then just never made it to product, and it was like, what did we try to create here? Is like some one-off thing.
I'm trying to think. Most of the stuff that actually all of it that I've been able to work on, before launches was already far enough down the path of.
It should have worked when they gave it to you, and not like, hey, go see what this does.
Exactly. Yeah. So there actually, to be honest, there isn't one that stood out to me that didn't work. Because, we'll do a bunch of internal testing before we take it to the field to make sure it meets, function requirements, water recovery requirements, pattern testing, right? So we don't want to take something in the field if we know if it didn't meet those check marks first.
Yeah.
And so stage gates is what we would call them. So no, honestly, there hasn't, I've been able to, I got to test ULTRASTEEL before we came to market, BlackCloud or BlackCloud 2, what we would call it, but the Flex Wad, I got to work on that project quite a bit. So yeah, I've been pretty fortunate that most of the products, or like I said, all of them that I've got the field test ahead of time have made it to the market.
You guys aren't coming out with any cube shot?
No, not a cube shot.
I've seen, what about biodegradable wads? Is that something you guys ever talk about? I know people have talked about that for years.
Well, even the casing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The casing, stuff on that.
Yeah. So actually, we do talk about it, and we actually do have some products right now. It's our fiber wad line. And so we have a bismuth offering. We have some steel loads with it, and then some lead loads with it.
Oh, interesting.
You guys, but yeah, we have, what we call our fiber wad system. It's a paper shot cup and a paper puck. And that puck is the gas seal, right? So it'll be like the skirt of the wad that seals out. It's designed such that when on setback and firing the shell, that's what gives you the gas seal in your bore and pushes your payload forward.
Is there anything you could tell us about that's not top secret that might be coming out?
Not at the moment. I can't. At the moment.
How many products are you working on currently that will potentially be out in the next, call it, year?
Oh man, you're really drilling me down. At the individual SKU level, it's tough to say. It's anywhere from 15 to 30. I think last year we had 20. So for 2025 catalog, we had like 32 new SKUs.
That's good
across the breadth of the product family in Shotshell. So yeah, we're always working on a lot of stuff, and we're always working on stuff 1, 2, 3 years down the road as well. So
yeah, that's super cool.
Are you guys working with like the other engineers with the other parent companies and like sharing, industry secrets or whatever? Or is it everyone like their own entity within the conglomerate?
No, definitely. We communicate with the other engineers and the other teams, and like I work with my counterparts closely as well. So yeah, it's we try to make it as big of a team environment as we can. So the Fiocchi side is new to us, so that one we're still kind of navigating a bit.
Gotcha.
But in terms of like Remington and Heavy Shot, who we've been under the same umbrella with for the longest, yeah, there's always constant communication to some degree.
So where is Fiocchi made elsewhere? Do you know?
Yeah, so Fiocchi, some of their products are made in Italy.
Yeah, Italy, right?
Italy,
yeah.
but
but there's Fiocchi USA or Fiocchi of America, which that's in Missouri.
Gotcha, that makes sense. Huh.
Interesting
Developments. Well, Jeff, you have anything else for Josh?
No, man. Obviously, love shooting your guys' product. Do you dabble in the sub-gauge culture with working on all these shells?
I try to. Like I turkey hunt with the 410 a fair amount. I'll be shooting 28 gauge for turkey next week in South Dakota, but I'll shoot my 20 gauge a lot.
Okay.
And I plan on shooting 16 gauge BlackCloud this fall quite a bit, and then also 28 gauge, heavy bismuth and BlackCloud products as well. So yeah, I like it. I like shooting all guns. I like to mess with them. I'm a gear junkie too, so coming to my house, I got stuff everywhere of stuff I'm tinkering with and playing with.
Love it.
That's awesome. Well, Josh, we appreciate you coming on. If you have anything to leave us with, let me know.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I leave with anything, I would just say, we're all of us here at Federal and our other brands, we're super passionate about our products. We're hunters and shooters outside of work. We're not just sitting here in the office, staring at the computer. When we get a chance, we all like to hunt and fish, and we take a lot of pride in our products. And, that I think that goes a long ways. And I think it shows in our products that we put out on the market as well.
Yeah, definitely. I know, like I said, we use your products and we stand by them. So we appreciate you doing the good work over there and producing good shot shells.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah, not a problem.
All right, Josh, have a good rest of your day.
See you, Josh.
Yeah, you too, man.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Save It for the Blind podcast. You can find our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.